Well, it should be a big week for the Communications Minister Anika Wells, who's overseeing a social media ban for under 16s that comes into effect on Wednesday. But the messaging has been hijacked by her bills to the taxpayer, and there are more of them emerging this morning. After the $100,000 flights to New York and the family trip to Thredbo, now come revelations. She slugged the taxpayer $4,000 so her husband could go to the cricket and the F1. Joining us live is the Liberal Senator Jane Hume. Jane, it's good to see you on this Monday morning. So it is within the rules, but does it pass the pub test, all of this?
That does seem to be the question, Pete, and Anika Wells' judgement is being called into question. The rules are there for a very good reason, but during a cost of living crisis at a time when trust in politicians is at an all-time low, this really doesn't meet community expectations. The idea that you can game the rules that exist to advantage you doesn't really sit comfortably with the general public, and indeed with Anika Wells' colleagues too. I'm surprised that it took the Prime Minister so long to come out and say that he had approved those nearly $100,000 airfares to New York. But now that we're hearing that there is more, that there is trips to the cricket and trips to the Grand Prix with a husband, trips to Thredbo with children, this does feel like Minister Wells is taking advantage of the rules, working a way around the rules as opposed to abiding to them by the strict letter of the strict guidelines.
Should she pay the money back?
Well, that's certainly what Tony Burke was forced to do 15 years ago when it was discovered that he too took a trip with his family within the rules to Uluru, but public pressure meant that he had to repay that money. Now, there is an off-ramp here for Anika Wells. She could have a full review of her travel expenses as a minister done by IPA. IPA is the Independent Parliamentary Expenses Authority. They could do a full review of all Anika Wells' expenditure and put her mind and indeed the public's mind to rest that everything she has done is indeed within those rules. But it's this sense of, and I hate the phrase, entitlement. It's within entitlements. I didn't make the rules, says Anika Wells. Well, I don't really think that that's good enough, and I don't think that ordinary Australians that are struggling to find the money to go away on a holiday this Christmas or even put food on the table on Christmas Day would think that that's acceptable either.
So I mean, this is something that has involved both parties over the years. You mentioned Tony Burke, Susan Lee as well in recent years, just to name a few. In 2025, though, do you believe that those rules should be changed across the board?
Well, I'm open to having the rules reassessed and looked at. They're there for a reason. Members of Parliament and indeed particularly ministers do spend a lot of time away from their families, a lot of time travelling, and there should be opportunities for families to reunite where it's appropriate. But it's when it's seen that those rules are being taken advantage of, they're being gamed. This isn't just an opportunistic night to bring your family to Canberra. This is, events like Grand Prix and Formula One, cricket, and that just doesn't seem to pass the pub test. And
going back to Anika Wells, it should really be a big week for her as the social media bans come into place. There's a new poll out this morning that suggests while most people support the bans, most people remain sceptical about them. Where are you at with that this week?
Well, I think everybody remains sceptical as to whether they will actually be able to be implemented, but that doesn't mean that it isn't worth a shot. I was talking to a couple of women last week, families with children that are in that tweens age of 13 to 16, and they were thrilled by the ban. They said that it couldn't come in soon enough, but they had already seen their young children trying to find ways to get around it. Now, I made a joke last week, which probably landed a little flat, about how when I was a teenager, I had a fake ID and it got me into pubs. Even though the rules said I couldn't get in there, I found a way around it. But the deal was, once I got in there, if my friends weren't in there, it wasn't that fun. So if your friends aren't in those social media, kids are going to be kids. They're going to find a way around it. But if their friends aren't in those social media platforms, well, they'll be far less appealing anyway. Look, this is a world first. And it is worth a try because we want to make sure that we protect our kids from online harm. The question now, of course, is whether Anika Wells has used the same poor judgment that she's done on her travel expenses as she has done in implementing this ban, because we want to see it work.
All right, yep. Oh, we'll see how that goes. But Jane Hume, good to see you on this Monday morning. Thank you. We'll see you again next week.